The watch industry is filled with unimaginative suckers. Suckers that will move away to liquidate incredible watches. Suckers that will choose instead to buy a Rolex Daytona. Suckers that will never look back. I'm serious. So today we're talking about overhyped watches in the game and what you ought to be buying instead.
We planned that.
I'm nice. I love him.
Yeah, I planned that actually.
What is up, Watch fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Vintage Watch Shop.
My name is Michael, and this video is sponsored by Keeps.
Great. More on them later. Yeah, today's episode's interesting. We're talking about basically 9 different watches that are all to varying degrees overrated.
Overhyped, overrated. Everybody talks about them, wants them. It's like, why would you get any other watch?
Exactly, and that doesn't mean that they're not great watches, right? I mean, we're going to talk about famous watches: the Rolex Daytona, the Patek Philippe Nautilus, the Royal Oak, the Speedmaster. A lot of basic, just so PRX. Not everything is expensive here. Black base collection, right? A lot of watches here, and it doesn't mean they're not good. In fact, I would recommend any of these watches for a collection.
Yeah,
but I would not let it go unsaid that some of these watches are extremely overrated. So we're going to start off with a bunch of, kind of the more, mid-tier watches.
Mid-tier, mid-hype level.
Exactly. And then we're going to get into the crazy stuff, the stuff that is kind of a really interesting conversation about Patek Philippe and about Audemars Piguet and about Rolex for that matter. And, even though a particular Rolex might be essentially a perfect watch for $15,000.
Yep.
Does it deserve to be the most hotly desired watch in the world? That's kind of ridiculous.
In contesting that, even though Rolex is the most hype brand possible, is it actually overhyped at all?
Right.
Can you get to a point of not being overhypable?
Right, because you're that good.
Yeah.
So it's a great conversation. It's kind of a long and winding road conversation.
That means
if you're not really into watches, then I don't know about this one's going to be great for you. But if you do love watches, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one because it's a good one. So let's get into it.
Okay, first, this is all the press. I think it comes from Hodinkee, the Porsche design watch in general. I think it all comes from Hodinkee. I'm not positive about that, but I feel like their original watches, Porsche Design's original watches, deserve a lot of hype. I think the new ones now are cool, but not doing a lot for the amount that they're hyped. It has the status of like, oh, did you get one? Like, did you get one of those? Those are crazy. Let me see one of those.
Right.
And now the industry has gone so far where like PVD coating, aluminum watches and stuff isn't as crazy as it once was.
Right. I agree. So I mean, it's hard to even add to that because I think you're dead on. The original Porsche design watches, the Chronograph 1 and then the watches that came, in soon succession were really, really cool and they're nice. And like they wear out because they're a fairly thin coat of PVD, but I think they're actually really beautiful. And I think the more you beat them up, the cooler they get.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's one of the few sports watches that I would wear, even though I'm wearing a sports watch right now. I think it's a really, really neat, and they remind me of, Karl Lagerfeld's Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. I love the idea of a PVD watch. I think it's super freaking cool. But I love patina. I love watches that show their wear because I don't think the watches should be perfect.
Karl Lagerfeld, he was the guy that, would he jump out of a helicopter into the water?
I have no idea what you're referencing right now.
We had a discussion in Italy about this very famous Italian man.
No. Karl Lagerfeld is I believe he's a German man that ran Chanel and then his own brand, Lagerfeld later on.
Wow.
You're thinking of Gianni Agnelli.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
There was a heated discussion in Italy about that.
It was. Yeah, with the Italian clients.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll make a whole episode on Gianni Agnelli, and I'll post it on the Zero. So if you want to hear my thoughts on one of the great watch collectors and style influencers of modern history, head on over to the Zero. Link is down below in the description. You can even join on a free 7-day trial. It doesn't matter to me. And that's it. We do podcasts every week, and we release posts and community posts. It's an awesome community. I think you should get on over there. But yes, that's Karl Lagerfeld and his Audemars Piguet Royal Oak.
Porsche Designy.
So how overrated is it? Yeah.
You want to say it on 3? Then we'll discuss.
Well, it's tough because nothing else is placed yet, so it's hard to say exactly.
Well, we can move stuff. Okay. That's the fun of it.
Okay. So on an instinctual level.
Yep.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 7.
Oh, 7.
Okay.
That's pretty deep down. Okay.
But I do agree with you about the whole. We only have 8 there, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
We have
okay.
9,
So then I would
because your
have said
GMT
6.
will put there.
I would have said 6.
Okay, then we're really close.
I think that I think you're right that the new ones are way too expensive.
Yep.
But I did hear, and maybe that this is whatever, but I heard that. The new Porsche design watches that came out with that particular, I didn't research this before, I'm sorry guys, but we'll put the information here.
Yep.
That particular 911, the new Porsche 911, those, like, some people didn't want the watch. Some people were like, no, I'm good. I want the watch. I want the car. I don't need to spend an extra $13,000 on the watch. I'm good. So if that's happening, that means that you're trying to hype, but it's not working.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean the watch isn't cool and great. I think it means that $13,000 is a lot of money for a brand with no real, like, equity in the watch world, right? Guys that are buying the 911, I don't know if they want a $13,000 watch on top. It's kind of a lot of money.
Yeah.
Of course they can afford it, but it's like, I don't know.
You're really going to make me buy this watch?
I'm going to buy $13,000. I don't want it.
Like, I'm buying that car.
Right.
Whoa.
I'm good. I think we're good. I think I bought a watch. I bought a car. I think I just gave you $250,000. I think I'm good on the 13.
Yeah, right.
Which I definitely like relate to. Not on that level. Obviously, I'm not buying a new 911, but like sometimes it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm giving you good money, and like when you're buying something from retail, it's like, how about you don't try to take advantage of me?
Don't throw something in like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like we should be good right now. You know what I mean? Like,
I just bought a supercar.
Yeah, right. Like, are you kidding?
Wow.
So, yeah, I would say that the watches themselves are around a 5 or a 6. You're right.
Okay, sweet. I want to talk about the PRX. This is, obviously, I don't want to say it's overhyped on price. I just mean this is probably one of the most, if not the most hype watches at this price point I've ever seen.
Yes.
The PRX blew up. I
agree with you. And the conversation about the PRX kind of really, the metal, the rubber meets the road, rather.
Yeah.
When you talk about, well, what else is available at a similar price point?
Sure.
And the PRX is great.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. But is the PRX that much better than any host of micro brands?
Seiko's than micro brands and anything else out
Baltics,
there.
Charlie Paris, are they that much better than... I don't think so. I like the Tissot. I love the PRX. Great watch.
Yeah.
But you look at other micro brands. I mean, look at that Concordia GMT. You've got this beautiful, kind of, brown chocolate dial with a vignette and this beautiful pattern. And it's like, that's just one example of a micro brand. But there are and it's complicated. It's a GMT. I mean, and it's not a lot more money. And it's like, ooh.
Where do you think the hype is from it being an integrated sports watch?
Yes, but I also just think that, name recognition gets you so far. You think it's Tissot? Right? Tissot is a huge brand.
I was going to say my hope with the Tissot, with the PRX kind of blowing up would be everybody's like, oh my God, this price range is sweet. Like, this is an amazing watch. I want to look at this brand, that brand, this brand, that brand, that brand. But it kind of seemed like it just moved to being like, okay, what can you do that's like the PRX now? Like the 12 from Christopher Ward?
Right.
Great, that's perfect. Okay, we'll do that. Like, it seems like instead of opening up, it sucked things in a little bit.
I agree with that. Yeah. So,
don't forget, 1 is the most overhyped.
1 is, okay.
9 is the least.
Yeah. Keeping in mind, we both like this watch.
Of course, we love all these. None of these watches are bad watches.
Right.
These are all hyped for a reason. But how overhyped could they be?
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
That is a solid 4.
Dead on. It's a solid 4. You're definitely right.
Dude, so are you.
Well, I'm surprised you're right.
Well, I know.
I'm not blown away that I'm right again. We're joking. Relax.
We're joking.
God.
Right? Do I still have to say that contractually? He's joking. This video is sponsored by Keeps, which means they saw my hairline and thought we could help that guy out.
That's right, they can, because Keeps offers specialized home care for your hair without you ever having to visit a doctor's office.
And all treatment plans are personalized to address your unique needs and recommended by a licensed medical provider, which is good. I want someone to look over my head and say, this is what is going to help you.
Exactly, it's a specialized care.
And even better, these treatment plans are affordable, typically half the cost of traditional pharmacy prices. I've said this before. One of the most traumatic experiences of my life was a girl coming up behind me in the cafeteria and saying, "You're balding." My freshman year of college.
Like, really? Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
That was amazing that you said that, Renee. maybe we should think about other things to talk about.
In fact, maybe we should think about Keeps, your home care, hair care specialist, without you ever having to visit a doctor's office. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, though, because really, when you're trying to address, at least for me, I'm kind of adverse in many ways to getting out of my home to solve problems that aren't related to work.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired, generally speaking. Again, I don't have hair loss, but I relate to it. I relate to that idea very much. So the convenience of not having to leave your home is absolutely enormous.
Yeah, and Keeps offers treatments that are clinically proven to work. They're loved and trusted, and it's discreet. You're not wearing a giant helmet outside or anything like that. And hair loss stops with Keeps, and for a special offer and to get started, you can go to keeps.com/Theo Harris or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/Theo Harris. Speedmaster. Let me give you a little speech about the Speedmaster.
Please.
It went to the goddamn moon, dude. Number 9.
It is the epitome of America. And my man, I know how you love America.
We both don't have a Speedmaster, which I really want one, but went to the moon. Everybody knows that. We're not going to argue that that's overhyped, because that is overhyped.
You're like, it's a fact if you believe lies. I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, this is a part of Michael you guys don't know yet.
Michael doesn't believe in the moon landing.
Oh, hello, Stanley Kubrick. Well, here's a question. You're like,
oh, God.
It went to the moon. That is overhyped. We're not talking about that. We're talking about price, how it sits, its size, everything besides the moon, if you can separate that from the Speedmaster. Is it overhyped? And then there's a secondary discussion.
But you understand. I understand what you mean. Now play your little games. But that's like saying, the girl you're gonna the girl you're gonna marry. The girl you're gonna marry.
Sure.
Okay. Take away the fact that she'll be with you for thick and thin. Take away from the No, I'm sorry. No.
No. Take away.
No, wait. The girl you're gonna marry.
Yeah,
take away the fact that she stayed with you in your darkest hours, she weathered the storm. Take that away. Do you still like her? It's like, why would I take that away?
You consider that important to your purchase? You consider it that important to the majority of people that purchase the Speedmaster?
I don't think the person you marry. I think it's much more important who you marry.
Well, no, we're not talking about women anymore.
I think it's much more important. But like that's a similar. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Is kind of your point, right? Like in a way.
Well, my point
is you're taking a much more like but like physically speaking. Do you think that she's worth it? I'm like, do you want me to boil this woman down to?
You're thinking about.
I'm like, I hope to God she doesn't boil me down to what I look like, because like
even if she likes it now, it's not gonna last.
I know what you mean. So I'll play your little game.
Yeah, play a game.
It's hard to do this without reference points.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. I think that you put the Speedmaster next to the Rolex Daytona, and it really does sound like a good deal.
I think it's an unbelievable deal.
Unbelievable deal. Yeah. Particularly with the new bracelet. And I think really particularly the new bracelet. Yeah. And if you don't have the new bracelet, I totally get it. Those watches are amazing too. We love them then.
But
I would recommend you look at other bracelets in addition. I would recommend that. But the point is, look at it next to Daytona, and it seems undervalued.
Yes.
Look at it next to, what are other chronographs? The Zenith, El Primero, and it's like, okay, maybe it's actually more appropriately priced than we thought. Right? Because the Zenith delivers like insane
Zenith
value.
Is insane, yeah.
Insane.
Yes.
What are other brands? You look at, Longines chronos, and they're great, but they're a little bit thick. And I understand that.
Thick, yes.
The finishing is on par, if not better, on the dials and the cases of Longines.
The dials, you love the depth of the dials.
Insane.
As always. Yeah.
But I understand why someone could say, oh, that Longines is a little bit thick. Yeah. Even though I love them. And they're not thick for everybody, right? But for some people, I can understand that, right? Yeah. Smaller wristed people.
Sure.
I happen to think that the Omega Speedmaster is actually quite appropriately rated.
Okay, yeah.
My only thing is, and Omega does play around with the Speedmaster a lot.
Yep.
They just do it with complication, and they do it with alternative materials.
Yes,
and sometimes I'm like, could you just take the fucking regular Speedmaster Professional and make it in cool colors?
Yeah, can you just make it even simpler? Like when I thought the Swatch collab was just going to be ceramic.
You were ready to drop 14 grand.
Oh, yeah. Immediately. I was like, that is the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life.
100%.
Oh, they offer it in Hesselite because if you're in space and it explodes, it doesn't get everywhere.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
So I'm
like, first of all, I'm not going to space, and neither were you, motherfucker.
Now with them raising their price, though, to $8,000. I'd say that's still okay. We're on the territory of if you keep going up, I'll be like, this is becoming a bad deal.
I think Omega is still appropriately priced. I think they're on their way to being a little bit ridiculous.
Yes.
But I think they're still appropriately priced.
Okay.
Period. My only real problem with the Speedmaster is like this, age-old, watch community saying it's like, well, you've got to own a Speedmaster. No, you don't.
Yeah, right.
No, you don't.
Well, so what's a watch collection without a Speedmaster?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous thing. It's just an absurd thing. I don't feel that way at all, and that is maybe my problem with like.
Then it becomes like, well, I don't want one. If it's like everybody has to have a Speedmaster, because then I don't want it.
If the Speedmaster resonates with you and you like it, then buy it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then don't.
I was driving here today and I saw this one, the white dialed Speedmaster,
white gold
on a billboard.
It's white gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a billboard.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, they released one in steel.
No.
And a white dial. No, it's the $54,000 one. That's the weirdest one for me that you'd put on a billboard.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
They're completely almost unattainable.
It also looks nothing like a Speedmaster.
Yeah.
Like it looks nothing like, what you associate. The yellow gold ones are nice. They're expensive and you can get them for a better deal on secondary market, but they're nice.
Yeah, but they're also cheaper than that one. So I was like,
really? What's the price differential?
$11,000.
Wow.
Yeah. That's another Speedmaster.
I think the yellow gold Speedy with the bracelet, I think is honestly with the strap too. But those watches represent some value.
Oh yeah.
Like as an alternative to a day date, I think it's a baller watch.
Yeah.
I think it's baller. It's like different, right? Everyone has a day date, right? If you're trying to be a player,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
If you get on if I get on an airplane, and I'm sitting down, and then you're passing by me, and you're wearing a yellow gold day date, it's a great watch. I love it.
Yes.
But the guy next to you has a yellow gold Speedmaster. I'm like, he's got more watches.
Yeah.
The yellow gold Speedmaster guy's got more watches than the yellow gold day date.
And it's also like, wow, why'd you get the Speedmaster?
Right.
Not that it's bad.
It means because you've had a lot.
Yeah, right.
You've had a lot, now you're just around.
Yeah.
You walk by me in an airplane, and you're like, that guy's wearing a stupid steel GMT. That's silly. I was at a party the other day, and this dude was staring at my watch. Incredibly nice guy, lovely guy. And he's looking at my watch, and he's like, that's the Pepsi. And I had a couple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And he's like, try my watch. You offer me. It's like, great. And I took off my watch, and I was like, here you go. And he looked at it, and he's like, wow, these are heavier than I thought. He didn't know it was white gold.
Slow motion. It's white gold.
So I was like, well, they're not all that heavy. No, I didn't do that. But in my brain, I salivated at the thought of dropping that little bomb.
Yeah, it's heavier than you'd think if it was steel.
But it's not steel.
It's not steel.
It's white gold.
White gold. Where do you rank the Speedmaster from 1 through 9? 3, 2, 1,
7.
8. Oh, okay. Close enough.
Yeah,
close enough.
close.
I'll give you 7.
Yep.
The Royal Oak.
Yep.
I brought this up recently on John Mayer, Ed Sheeran Talking Watches. It's like, these are two of the best collectors in the world. They're two of the most varied collectors. These are guys that are in the industry. Why are they both wearing Royal Oaks? Even if they're Torbs, why are they both wearing Royal Oaks?
You want to rate them right now?
You want to just go straight for it? Yeah. 3, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, man. God. And we both know it's number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
The Royal Oak is grossly overrated. Now,
it's an amazing watch.
In the defense of the Royal Oak, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
The movements are great. The case finishing is great. The history is great. Everything about the watch is great.
I think if you're not wearing or holding a Royal Oak, you forget how amazing it is. And the second you hold it again, even if you own one, you're like, oh, wow, this is perfect.
Great watch.
Yes.
Once you start putting this in more relative terms, factoring in the abuse that you need to go through to get one.
Oh,
Whether that's through the retail, right, avenues, or it's through paying a gross premium on secondary market, generally speaking.
Yep.
And they've come down a little bit, but still, it's like, wait, did this make any sense that I just spent $45,000 on a, steel time-only watch that's not perfect?
Right.
Because it's not perfect. The Royal Oak, like unless it's the jumbo, it's not perfect. Every other Royal Oak time only is really, really good. Right. And I would get I'm not in the market for a jumbo. Jumbos are generally they're pretty freaking expensive. So if I got a Royal Oak tomorrow, it wouldn't be a jumbo, right? It'd be like a one that fit my. I have a Royal Oak, right? But
not in white gold though.
Not in white gold. I have a steel 3-handed Royal Oak, and they're great. A little bit small for many people because I've got the small one. I've got a 37mm watch. But the point is, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need a perfect one. What I'm saying is, if you're spending $45,000 on a steel time only watch, I don't know. It's got to be pretty much perfect.
There's got to be something else too,
right?
Because I
like the date just is got to perfect.
The date just is fantastic.
$8,000.
Well, that's the thing. I would talk to you about the specific thing before, but it was the white party where I was looking at everybody's watches. There's an article about it,
yes.
and it was just a list of Royal Oaks.
Yes,
and I was like, come on. Like all of you people that are just the most attention-seeking people I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
You all wore the same watch.
Yeah.
Why is it hyped to that level?
Yeah. Well, I think that's it's a couple of things. I think I've always said it's good brand strategy.
Yep.
But I think it's also the time of the Royal Oak. You know, it is the age of the oak. You know, I mean, it's like the time of the Royal Oak. It's aggressive, it's casual, it's rich. That's what everybody wants to be, right? Like my cousin. Oh, you're the only person that would get this in my family, but you're not in my family. But you know how. You know
close
what I mean?
enough, yeah.
You know, like. My cousin, who is a successful guy, he's a great guy. We butt heads a lot, but he's a successful guy.
Yeah.
And he's always trying to be young. He's trying to be young. He's on Ozempic right now, and he doesn't need to be.
Wow, he's the first person I know in real life that's on Ozempic.
Really?
Yeah.
We run in very different circles, my friend.
Yeah, we do.
I know everyone I know is on Ozempic, but like he's just obsessed with looking young. But he doesn't. He's not young. You're not young.
Yeah, you're old, right?
I look at that as like. That's great. Like George Clooney never tried to look young.
Yeah.
George Clooney, who's like my idea of like the aging gentleman, right? In a physicality sense, hair, right?
Yeah.
Like cool, you know. He doesn't try to look young. He looks like a gentleman.
Yeah.
That's what I aspire to be as an older man, right?
That's who you like.
My cousin walked into a party the other day wearing Kendall Roy big white sneakers.
Really?
Yes.
How old is he?
With a sport jacket. 60?
Wow.
With a sport jacket and whatever. And like what was probably like cashmere joggers. Like, you know what I mean? Like those thin, like tapered joggers with the elastic bottoms.
Yeah.
And he's wearing like I don't know what brand the shoes were. I think they were like Hermes, but they were high top chunky sneakers.
Stiff sneakers.
And I'm like, dude, you're fucking 60, man. Cut it out.
Right.
You know? I don't know where I was going with the story. Do you remember?
You said I'd get it. I get it.
What?
We were talking about why everybody wears the Royal Oak.
Oh yeah, because it's just a human thing. Like, you know, a lot of folks want to feel, you know, like today the era, the culture is like, you want to be kind of like casual and kind of you want to be rich and casual. That's
you don't
cool.
want to look too soft, refined.
Yeah,
and
like you know who you saw it in really. I don't know how much attention you were paying to this at the time, but probably not much. But were you like keeping up? Were you keeping up with the Kardashians when that was a thing?
No.
Okay.
But
so Scott Disick.
Oh, I know Scott Disick.
But did you watch his transformation?
No.
Okay, so Scott Disick was like, he was an asshole, but he was an idol to a lot of young metropolitan men that thought that being an asshole was cool.
Okay, got it.
Right? Like being a rich asshole was cool.
Okay, sure.
Right? Like holier than thou, whatever. That like you don't really work. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was a bit of an idol, and he dressed really formally. And it was like kind of a thing. It went so far as that he like got his lordship and he like walked with a cane. Like it was like a thing.
Really?
It was a caricature, of course, right?
Okay, sure.
But it went so far that it reverted overnight. And he like, that's it. Like now he ripped everything and he grew out a beard and he wore like big baggy shit. Looked like he dressed like Kanye. Kanye, who was his brother-in-law at the time, right?
Okay, sure.
So it was like wow, culture, like the culture shifted and it was reflected in Scott Disick very, very early. Like it was kind of interesting.
He was the guy leading the charge,
and then it kind of just happened everywhere. Like, and he wasn't the first one, but he was definitely the first one, at least that I noticed.
Formality
that was
is dead. Like stop.
That was like, yeah. I guess the point is there were always people that dressed like that.
Yeah.
But once you see someone cross the line, it's like,
so clearly
this is a movement. People are going to start crossing the line.
Right. And the AP is the line to cross.
Exactly.
Wow.
I think once you start like that whole like super cat, like AP benefited disproportionately from this cultural movement, you know, or for the second time, I suppose, of uber casual, rich, aggressive.
Which makes so much sense when you think of the date jest. If you're looking at the date jest, you're like, okay, it's soft, it's smooth, it's like, it has a beautiful flow to it. And it's like, no, that's what I would wear with a suit if I wanted to.
Right.
I wouldn't wear this really aggressive, like hard cornered watch.
Yeah, you know, an AP Royal Oak is in many ways, it's the equivalent of, you know, a big burly beard in a trust fund.
Yeah.
It's kind of this oxymoron.
Well, I just wear, you know what? I was driving on Meadow Lane in the Hamptons and I saw You just imagine what these people's lives are like. You're like, okay, these people just like walk through the street beautifully and stuff. And then I saw a guy in like shorts all the way down to his feet, like a ripped shirt, wide open, whatever, like ripped down like this, wearing Royal Oak.
Yeah,
that is
that's far more
like,
normal.
I'm not going to wear my date just like that's too classy. But like this is a watch that I wear. Like
I reject the idea of looking wealthy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your house is bigger than my block.
Right. You're living in a $60 million house. And and you don't want to put on a pair of pants?
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Whereas, not to like go too far into this, but like, culturally, and I don't know. You're always kind of rejecting, in many ways, you're always kind of rejecting what you are, right? Like, you're either aspiring up, right? Like I told you many times in the Piaget conversation, my whole family, everyone wore slacks and like a, kind of like a knit polo or a dress shirt. That's what you wore. And they weren't pretending to be richer than they were. That wasn't the point. I mean, maybe the watch thing, they were trying to play up a little bit, but the clothing thing was just like, no, that's self-respect.
Right.
We aspire to be richer one day, so we dress with respect.
And then you get rich and you're like,
rich people. It's like, okay. Little do you realize God bless you if you're happy, but like you are just as much of a cliche as everybody else.
Yeah, right.
You're totally predictable.
The worst thing someone can have happen to them is for people to think they know who they are. Exactly. So you always have to reject.
Exactly. But the mere act of rejecting is so predictable.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, come on. It's like, how many girls I dated in the East Village, and I was like, remember I told you all those stories, right? I don't want to say names, and I was like, who do you think you're talking to? Your dad runs a trust fund, and I know that. We grew up together.
Yeah.
You think you're hippy dippy now?
Your car with
your nails
tape
are all
on the
chipped,
door
and you're mad at everybody. You're a decamillionaire. Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
Can you cut the shit?
Yeah.
Come home.
Right.
Come home. Come home. We're rich. Not when I say we, I didn't mean we. She was rich. But that was, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, grow up. Come on.
Yeah.
Be who you are.
Number two.
If you love watches like I do, if you think that they mean something more than the time, then head on over to theoandharris.com and shop our selection of vintage watches and handmade straps. They're unique and they're special, and once they're gone for good.
Black Bay series.
Yep.
This is a series everybody knows. We'll include the Pelagos, whatever, Tudor line in general. I feel like it is amazing. It's fantastic. I want a 54 when they change colors, but it's so hyped. There is no other watch in the world. Immediately top of the mind, it's like, okay, Longines heritage. People don't consider it because of the Black Bay series.
Yeah.
So, is it overhyped for price, or is it overhyped in media?
Good question. So I don't think it's necessarily overhyped in price.
I think it's priced perfectly.
I think that Longines is underpriced. I think that Longines is actually set an unfair expectation for what pricing is, and I think that that's kind of Swatch Group's point.
Do you think that hurts Longines at all?
I don't. I don't understand like the. I've never been involved in like global pricing of a luxury product, so I won't be arrogant enough to even make a remark on that, which says a lot. But I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because where my brain goes, it's like, well, if you priced it a little bit higher, a little bit closer to what it really should be, I say, could you reinvest all that money back into growth of the brand? And if that's the case, you could you'd probably put together a $50 million kitty at the end of the year if you with a fairly small price increase. Keeping in mind, Longines is a huge volume.
They
business.
do over $1 billion a year.
Huge, right? You probably put another $50 million in your pocket, not in your pocket, rather, in the bank, that you can now reinvest into growing the brand. And I don't think they do that enough.
Yeah.
And they invest in their brand. I think it could be more because they deserve it. The Longines brand is so good.
Yeah.
I think it's better than the Tudor brand. Wow. Better brand.
Whoa.
That being said, I can't criticize Tudor off the basis that Longines is underpriced. That's not how you do business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so I'll say that Tudor's appropriately priced.
Yes.
I do think the Black Bay is a little overrated.
Okay.
A little. But in the last couple of years, compared to when they first came out, I hear people saying like, I got a Black Bay. It's just a great
I know.
watch.
Yeah, right.
Whereas when they first came out, it was like a huge deal.
I remember when they came out, I think I was in high school, and I was just like, wow, finally.
Yeah.
Like, a watch was released.
Yeah, and I was a little bit like, get over it. Like, chill out, everybody. It's a red bezel. Let's relax.
Yeah.
Come on. Cut it out.
Yeah.
You know. So, number?
Let me
I don't
see.
even know what numbers are left, but we can always bump.
We have 1, 3, 5, 8, 9, but we can bump.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I want to also mention the articles on changing color, that type of hype too. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, 4. 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was three, 3 or 4?
I said 4. Close enough.
Were they both open?
No, 4 was PRX.
Oh, so you're bumping the PRX.
Yeah.
I was choosing of the numbers. Gotcha.
Never mind. I don't want to bump the PRX because then I would probably put the PRX to 3, which I don't think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the PRX.
Yeah.
I think the Black Bay is more overrated than the PRX.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vastly.
So then there you go.
Done. Rolex GMT Mark 1 in white gold. This is a joke. This is really Rolex sports line in general.
Yeah.
A sports Rolex.
Oh, I thought you meant my watch in particular.
I did that to be silly.
No, I know, but like if you want to rate it like that, it's fine because it's the bottom one.
Yeah, it's not. The white gold GMT is very
underrated.
low.
Yeah.
But Rolex
I just want
sports
that said.
Yeah, it's grossly.
I'll never sell this watch. Never. It's in the shop tomorrow.
I'm like, is this yours? You're like, nah, dude, that's steel.
No. You're like,
no, it's not. Rolex sports line in general, 1 through 9.
that's tough.
Because I'm referencing specifically, not your watch, but specifically you saying like, yes, I guess I did buy the hype watch, like the sports Rolex.
Yeah. I think as a general rule, like sports models are pretty overhyped, right? I mean, it's like.
But then this really, to me, brings in the conversation of, okay, well then, what is hype?
Well,
if it's built well, everybody knows it.
Right.
It's Rolex. Is that overhyped? Can you overhype
Maybe
that?
You're right. It's like, okay, great. Name a better sports watch at the price.
Sure.
Can you? I don't think I can.
Can you? Like
the Daytona I see competitors with. Like
the Daytona will come up at the end because that's a big thing.
But Rolex sports models, I think they're kind of the best in their class.
For their price, for their QC, for their brand reputation.
Oh, yeah. They're the best.
I give you 10 brands, all dive watches, all certified to dive 300 meters. Which one do you take in the water?
I take my Rolex in the water.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
That's not hype.
Well, it's an oyster.
Yeah. It's
hermetically
sealed. Water, actually.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wow, as much as it is the hypiest hype, it's actually not.
Yeah, I would put it pretty down the list.
3, 2, 1.
7.
7?
Yeah.
Whoa, I was going to say 9.
Wow. Okay,
9 is the complete bottom. 7 is Speedmaster.
Oh, okay, then yeah. 8 or 9. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. I guess I saved 2 Pateks, so we'll do the Nautilus and the Aquanaut. We'll do those a little quicker,
together.
And then we'll do the Daytona.
Oh, they both are on the list?
Yes.
Got it.
We have 1, 5, and 8 left.
Okay. Which one are we doing first?
Let's do Patek. Let's do Aquanaut and Nautilus because these are probably going to switch something.
Yeah.
We'll go Nautilus first because that is obviously the hype.
Yep.
I would say, to me, not as overhype as the Royal Oak at all, but still very, very hype. But it still fits the category of when you put this watch on, you say, wow, this is just perfectly proportioned. Probably because it was designed by the same person in a very similar time period. And it could be just a modification with a little bit of a smoother look. Right. That being said, if we don't mention the Tiffany Nautilus, I feel like we'd be missing something major here.
Yep.
So that brings it to me the most overhyped level, to the point where John Mayer and Ed Sheeran in their conversation were like
cringy.
Yeah, they were like, I regret wearing that watch.
Yes.
I don't want people to see it.
It's a cringy watch.
That is an unbelievable amount of overhype, to the point where celebrities on a watch channel are publicly
shaming
being like, shaming it.
Yeah.
Where do you put it?
It's tough.
Even, what are your thoughts before we put it?
Yeah, it's tough, man, because, we're pitting Nautilus against Royal Oak. Which one is more overrated?
You could also, that's number 2. Royal Oak is number 2.
Because it becomes references, right? Like, I think the 5712 is grossly underrated.
Oh, okay, sure.
It's a perfect watch.
Yeah.
5711, I think it's grossly overrated.
What was the highest that price reached that you remember?
Over 100.
How much does it retail for?
125, 29. Yeah, 125, maybe 140.
Yeah.
I think that's how high they got.
That's unbelievable.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
So I think that at that point was the most grossly overrated watch in the world, I think.
Yeah. A 5711, just like the word mention of it, people are like, oh yeah, well, like, if someone had it and we saw it, they'd be like, well, yeah, luckily I got mine before it went crazy. It was like,
I paid like a steal. I was like, would you pay like 85?
Yeah, I paid 90. I feel like I stole it.
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're thinking. The same guy. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, sorry, Peter. I love you. But yeah, I think that I think it's pretty grossly overhyped. I think it's a great watch.
Yep.
I think that 5711 is not nearly as good as 5712. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So that's a blemish for me.
With all of that said, we should rank it. And I don't want to talk about the Aquanaut at all. I just want to rank that and see what happens, and then we'll get into it. But Nautilus. Well, 1, blank. 2, Royal Oak. 3, Black Bay. 4, PRX. 5, blank. 6, Porsche Designa. 7, Speedmaster. 8, blank. 9, Rolex Sports Watches.
All right.
3, 2, 1, 3. 4. You replace it with a PRX.
Yeah, maybe bump them. You know,
Yeah.
Just because they just got oh wait, that would mean that it's less hyped than the. It's so much better.
The Nautilus
than
the
the
PRX?
PRX. I mean, it's not even close. So you
Wait,
know what
why?
I mean? Yeah. So maybe it would be kind of a neck and neck for me.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. We're close enough there.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I don't want to have any discussion about at all.
Aquanaut.
The Aquanaut. 3, 2, 1,
5.
8. 5.
Yeah.
Okay, we're a little different there.
Yeah. You think it's so that far undervalued?
That to me, it's a hype watch, no doubt, but it doesn't have the same hype as I think almost anything else on this list, because people will be like, "Is that a Nautilus? What is that?"
Maybe I pulled my pistol too soon on that one. I think you're probably right. I guess in our world, it's pretty hype.
Yes,
but I don't know about in the general world if it's even on the same plane as a.
I feel like in a weird way, well, not in a weird way, but you can get to an echelon of people that they know what an Aquanaut is, but you can also, in that same group, have people be like, you couldn't get a Nautilus? Like, what is that? Yeah,
maybe that's a very good point. You're right.
It's like,
right.
I don't think AP has that either.
People on the outside, that if you see someone wearing an offshore, you're like, oh, you're an offshore guy.
Exactly.
You don't think you couldn't get a Royal Oak.
Exactly. You wanted a louder Royal Oak.
You wanted a loud, you're kind of not my guy.
Yeah.
And again, there are so many cool offshores. I'm talking about like a very specific subset of just like uber big guys that are wearing, But there are actually some nice offshores, particularly offshore divers. I like them a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But the offshore can be a kind of a douchey watch. But I'm pretty much a purist of the Royal Oak. Like, I like
straight.
Basically the Chrono I think is really good.
Chrono's sweet.
But yeah.
So 8 or 5?
I agree with you on 8.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I changed my mind.
Not a very controversial video, because the last one, we all know, number 1, the Daytona.
Yeah, Rolex Daytona.
That's I just recently said I want one. I want the steel one.
Yeah.
So hopefully that absolves me a tiny bit from the hype.
As opposed to the ceramic, you mean?
As opposed to ceramic, yes, of course. But to me, frankly, I love the ceramic. It's great. I don't love it that much. I don't love it more than the Speedmaster. The steel Daytona, I do. The steel bezel Daytona, I do. But the ceramic, to me, it's too bulky. It's a beautiful watch, but that to me is the definition of a plain but beautiful watch. I'm like, that is the most plain configuration you can
I think it's a great watch, no problem. I don't think that it deserves to be the most hotly desired watch in the world.
Yes. What is the highest you've seen? 500% was the Nautilus. What is the Daytona?
The Daytona was 47,000 against 13. That's it's kind of the same multiple.
Yeah.
I mean, or pretty close.
That's to the level where people are like, I can't go any higher than that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Wow.
Those watches are nuts. I mean, I agree with you. The Daytona is just grossly overhyped. I like the Daytona.
I do too.
But I would never get one personally.
Yeah. You would never get either steel or ceramic?
No.
Wow.
No. Would I get a white gold Daytona? A yellow? I mean, yeah, maybe.
Would you consider that less hyped?
Yeah.
Where would you put that?
I wouldn't. I don't know if it makes the list. I mean, it would be pretty low. It'd be like 8 or 9. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
White gold Daytona is.
You said Rolex can't sell them.
Well, white gold Rolexes are the hardest Rolexes to sell.
Yeah. I can't sell them. You know what I mean?
It's kind of a soft market, relatively speaking. So yeah, I think that the white gold Daytonas are really neat. I think they're really cool. They have a long tradition in white gold, so far as the automatics specifically.
Yeah.
Or rather exclusively. There's only one white gold manual Daytona and it was fake. So,
Whoops.
Kind of oops.
At least we wrote about it.
At least we wrote about it, exactly. So yeah, I think that the white gold Daytonas are great, and I think that we are currently living in the best generation of white gold Daytonas. Apart from maybe the coral era, the beach era,
yeah.
I think that we're living in the best generation. Particularly 2023. Like I think that the precious metal Daytonas are the best precious metal Daytonas I've ever made.
Did the precious metals get upgraded as well? They look different?
Dial.
Just the dial.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I think 41 millimeters, obviously, but the dial is just it's the perfect dial.
Wow.
It's finally the perfect precious metal Daytona dial.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually think it's better than the steel.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
On an empirical, like on a forget about money.
Yeah.
And just on all things being equal, I think they're better.
Wow.
They're better.
Wow.
And people don't want them as much. It's also far fewer buyers.
Yeah.
A lot more money. Daytona's a $13,000 watch if you can get one.
Well, not anymore.
Well, $15,000 if you can get one.
How much it is? I think it's more than 15.
So 1 million people get on that list because they're like, okay, I could kind of just.
Okay, I'll push it for that. Right.
But 40,000 is a big difference.
Well, I know. You're telling me, dude.
You know what I mean? Even just on a emotional level, like who's ready to do $40,000? A lot of money to spend on a watch. You know, you kind of have to
especially when there's not as much as a hype market around it. So you're like,
you
I'm
either
going to
need to
have trouble selling this.
Have a lot of money, or you need to be really into watches. Whereas a Daytona $15,000 watch, you have to like
15 months.
You have to have money. Obviously, God, no regular Joe is buying a $15,000 watch, obviously. But like, it's like the best watch. So it's like, yeah, I'll spring
three times.
My budget's really $8,000, right, but like I could see maybe I won't go on vacation. Like, a lot of guys can kind of get there.
Yeah.
Again, and we're particularly talking about Metropolitan, right? Like, and don't hate me for that opinion. Everyone's like, oh, see, he lives in a bubble. No, I don't live in a fucking bubble. I don't call Middle America the flyover states, right? I love you guys, but I'm telling you, this is what it's like here.
I don't call Middle America the flyover states. I love my flyover states.
Yeah. Wait, what? Well, that was a lot of fun. Again, even though they're overhyped, they're still great watches. Thank you for putting this episode together. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you love watches, subscribe to our channel at Theo and Harris. Like this video. And if you really love watches and want more exclusive content from Theo and Harris, go sign up for The Zero, which is our private community on Patreon. Sign up for a free 7-day trial. It doesn't matter to me. It's all good. Stop in. Shoot me a DM. Say hello. I'd love to get to know you. See you over on The Zero. Whether you're a Submariner guy or a 50 Fathoms guy or a Day-Date guy or an FP Journe guy, you've got to just take a step back and appreciate this history here. This isn't stuff you're going to find in a showcase. This is not mass-produced stuff, which is beautiful in its own right. I mean, this is treasure hunting.